Hey there, it's Aaron, the Practical Tech, and I'm going to talk to you about Chef. So, Chef, the tool, not this guy, it is a valuable DevOps tool that can help you transform your company or your agency. But what is Chef? Let's get into it a little bit. So, I wanted to show you a simplified Chef architecture. It's a very actually complex environment, but at its core, there are really three main components, all centered around the Chef infrastructure server. The Chef infrastructure server communicates with clients, and these clients can be anything from servers to firewalls to anything that will run the client. The way that we interact with the Chef infrastructure server is through the workstation, and there can be multiple workstations, but this is a very simplified architecture. Let's go a little bit deeper. Chef has multiple components. It has, like I had mentioned, the Chef server or infra server, the workstation, and then all these nodes. You can see there are multiple components within each of these major elements. You will also notice that there are multiple clients that we can communicate with. I had mentioned briefly, a firewall, but you can also use it for containers and in coordination with other DevOps technologies. One of the neat things about Chef is how we apply what it calls recipes to a particular piece of infrastructure. Chef does a lot of its work with cookbooks. A cookbook in Chef terms is how we store the information that we would like to use to configure a particular node. A Chef cookbook is comprised of multiple recipes. These recipes are written in the Ruby programming language, which is great because that gives you the ability to use a full-featured programming language. And if you already know Ruby, you don't have to learn another language. So for a developer, that's great. It just helps you leverage your skill set just that bit more. So cookbooks have recipes. And these recipes, they have the instructions for how to do something on the server or the node that you're wanting to interact with. They also contain things like templates, but these templates you can populate with variables so that you can configure something for a particular server and reuse the same cookbook for other environments and other types of servers. It also has attributes. These attributes, think of the attributes as data that you want to populate and put on the server. The demo today that I'm going to show you is a cookbook I put together to help install the LAMP model. The LAMP model, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, is very popular in the industry in providing a full environment that gives you a database, an operating system to run on, a web server to serve things up, and a scripting language to write interactive applications. So it's a very popular open source model for doing development. So hey, let's get started. All right, so here is the Chef management console. And what I've already done, I've already installed Chef. And so this is the Chef infra server. And particularly this is the management console where we can go in and take a look at things here. And what you're seeing are the different nodes that I've already installed. And you can see the recipes that have been applied to each of those nodes. So you can look at the various attributes of each of these nodes, and this is what's available to you from a variable standpoint right off the bat. You can also see the permissions applied to each of these nodes. For the sake of the demo, though, really just focusing on what we can do with each of these nodes and applying the LAMP stack. In the policy area, you can see the cookbooks. I have a couple here. The one that I've built is the LAMP stack. Also imported one for MySQL. So what I'm going to show you now is the actual cookbook on the server itself. This is on the workstation, and we'll go ahead and go into the LAMP stack. And what you see here is the file repository for this cookbook. And let me go ahead and open the recipes folder. And you can see I have 4 recipes here, a default one that gets executed first, and then I've got a few others that Apache as well as MySQL and PHP. So this first default one really is just making sure that the system's up to date. A good thing to do as a practice. Then I'm going to show you here the Apache recipe. Go ahead and open that up real quick. All right, so the Apache does an install. It starts that service, and this is all being done via the recipe, so this is kind of cool. It also then goes and says, I'm going to build some host files. Now, I've already set up some variables. I'll show you that later on, but this is to make a host file for each site that I want to host. And in our case, we're only hosting one. Here I'm using an index file and using a template annotated by the .erb. Anyway, we're going to show a little bit about how templates work. And then I also am using a template to build a PHP info page so you can see that PHP was actually installed correctly. Additionally, further down, it's talking more about the virtual host, and then also this keep alive. I'm actually modifying the Apache 2 configuration, and I'm doing that twice to do the keep alive, turning them off, and then also substituting in the name of Tech 1010 in the Apache code. So kind of cool. You can update your configuration files and also set new ones, so you can edit on the fly. This is how we're installing MySQL. I'd show you this recipe. And this is fairly straightforward. I did use a data bag, and this has a shared secret with the password in it that's fully encrypted. Also, this just tells it how to get at that password. And no, the password isn't password. And then finally, we have the PHP recipe, and it's doing a few things. First of all, it's installing it. It's installing some additional packages here to ensure that Apache and MySQL are integrated. Then also copying in the configuration file for PHP, and then changing some permissions. So you can see here are the cookbooks, but I want to show you, we're going to start from scratch. This is a server that I've built previously. I am going to now reinstall the server, which takes it back to its base operating system. So we'll go ahead and do that. And while that's installing, we'll give it a few minutes or seconds. All right, so it's installed. I'm going to go quickly change the password here. All right, now that that's done, I am going to show you that the Delta site had nothing there. Now I'm going to use the knife tool, which is part of the workstation, and I'm applying these recipes in this order: LampStack, Apache, MySQL, PHP. And now I'm connecting to the Chef server. It is now connecting and installing the Chef client, as well as starting to do the install of the various tools that I've asked it to do. And you can see as it's working its way through. All right, so now it's installing. What it did is it compiled the cookbooks and made sure there was no problems there. Now it's going to try to install some of the components that I've asked it to install. And it's going to work its way through here. Some of these components are fairly quick to install. Some of them take a while. It's working its way through installing MySQL right now. And as it works its way through that, it will try to install PHP. All right, and we're finished, and that was a very quick 1 minute and 52 seconds. So I'm going to show you what we do here. We're going to go check the site, hit refresh, and boom, it did update. It did put in the variable name. It is a hello world. And just to prove that PHP is working, look at that. We also have our configuration file working. So a lot of good things happened here. It happened really quickly if you think about how fast that was to apply. So go back here, we'll refresh and take a look and make sure that the node shows up. And look at that. There it is. And you can see it's been up for a magical 4 minutes. Very cool. And you can see that it did apply those recipes. That's all stored in configuration here on the server. All right, so now what I want to show you are the templates that we used here. So let's go ahead and open the template folder. And I'm going to pull up the index folder or file. All right, and this is a very simple template, but showing you that you can write directly the fully qualified domain name, which is why you saw delta.tech1010.com. And then I provided a link to the PHP file that I created. You can see that there. All right, back to here. I want to show you the virtual host template because a lot of good things happen here. All right, so you can see all the various attributes that I'm populating here. You can see some of the things that are there by default, like the node fully qualified domain name. And you can see some additional site routes or document routes that are being shown here. All right, so what I'd like to show you now, to minimize this and go back and show you the actual configuration and pull that up. So there we can compare and contrast here. You see how it's been populated with all the variables or attributes that have been applied. And you can see the different directories that were populated in there. And let's just toggle here. So you can see, again, this was the template. And we applied the attributes. And here are the output resulting configuration file. So very cool. You know, and the way the script is written, I could do multiple virtual hosts with this script. So if I had multiple sites I was hosting on here, it'd be very easy to do. All right, so one of the things I want to do is show you attributes. And we'll go ahead and open up the attribute file so you can see what's contained. And it'll look kind of familiar. Some of these attributes that I've been applying to various templates, you can see right here, this is where I applied them and in that folder for attributes. And I'll show you again so you can see that's where those attributes go once I've applied them with the template. So it's fairly flexible. You could put multiple sites in here, which is what I could have done, and applied that throughout. So this is the overview of Chef. I hope you enjoyed it. Great tool. This is Aaron, the Practical Tech with R4G TV. If you have questions on Chef, ask the questions below. And in the meantime, subscribe to my channel.